Hello everyone. Today let's talk about demand analysis. Demand analysis in the business is the process of understanding the customer demand for a product or service in the target market. It is all about understanding the gap which is prevailing in the market. It is the process of understanding the customer demand for a product or service in the target market. Companies use demand analysis techniques to determine if they can successfully enter a market and generate expected profits to expand their business operations. It also gives a better understanding of a high demand market for the company offerings. Customer demand analysis refers to the buyer's willingness to purchase or to consume that very product which an entrepreneur has desired to offer by assessing his ability to pay. Whenever any consumer consume or buy any product or service, it needs to quantify as well as qualify on various parameters. First and foremost, any entrepreneur needs to assess the demand and willingness of that very product to be consumed in the market. That relationship between the price and quantity demanded is known as a demand. In any business, it is very important to assess the market. Whenever we are talking about assessing the market, we need to have the right identification of a market where we are going to sell our product. So, one, it would be the first step in the market demand to identify the target market for the company's product or service. A lot of surveys and customer feedbacks can be leveraged to determine the current customer satisfaction level. At times in the business cycle, whenever any company is looking forward to expand, company try to assess what is the desire for a specific commodity already prevailing in the market. That is the first need assessment, which has to be clubbed with the sufficient resources to purchase the desired commodity. If the person will not have the ability to buy it, consumer will never be able to cater to that very particular demand and the product is very likely to bomb, right? Then the willingness to spend the resources. Then comes the availability of the commodity at certain price, and at a certain time. So, whenever we are talking about this very stage which emerges in the market, it helps any consumer to assess the right demand, assess the right need which can be catered by consuming in the right supply. So, if the consumer is looking forward to get into it, then only any entrepreneur will have an opportunity to sell that very product. Types of demand could be individual, market, which could further be catered to. Is it a niche market demand we are talking about, or is it a general market demand we are talking about? Any type of demand, whether it's individual or market, it has only one prima facie, it has just one objective. That is to evaluate the competition, that is to evaluate the competitiveness of your company by being able to launch the right product at the right time, by being able to cater to the right need for a specific product in a specific quantity or in a specific demand or at a specific price or maybe in a specific market. For example, products like washing machine, like which is a household demand, right? Which is required in every household. But washing machine will come in various features, it will have various differentiating factors in terms of services, in terms of output, and it will have a very, very different portfolio of prices involved. Here, every customer will try to correlate his demand to a particular service being offered by any particular brand in the market. So, the feature of any product or the characteristics of demand which look like the demand is the specific quantity that a consumer is willing to purchase. Thus, it is expressed in numbers. The demand must mean the demand per unit of time, per month, per week, or per day. It has to be continuous in nature. Then the demand is always at a price. That is, any change in the price of a commodity will bring about a certain change in its quantity demanded. Then the demand is always in the market, a place where a set of buyer and a seller meet. The market needs not to be in a geographical area. Thus, the demand plays a crucial role in the success of any business enterprise. And it must be remembered that demand is always at a price and the particular time period in which it is created. Now let's understand the willingness to purchase. Willingness to purchase has a lot to do with being able to quantify or qualify in the mind of a customer. Being able to place your product in the mind of a customer by manipulating it, maybe through advertising or through sales promotion technique, or by improvising your product or your pricing policy or your production planning, or whether you are trying to create a false demand of that very product in the market. The bottom line fact is every company need to assess the willingness to purchase. Though it comes from consumer, but every company needs to push it thoroughly so that the right desire to purchase is always there. There is always a continuous demand of that very product which needs to be existing in the market. And the customer should be able to purchase it. You cannot keep stretching the product to a level where the willingness goes. Whenever any company or any entrepreneur decide the price of a product, the price should also look very, very interesting. A customer should be able to pay for it. Customer should be able to correlate his ability to pay, maybe through a credit card, maybe through money borrowed, or maybe through piggy bank, savings, through cash, check, anything. The point is, customer is being able to cater to the desire to acquire plus the willingness to pay plus the ability to pay, that is equal to demand. Then comes the ready to purchase decision. Ready to purchase decision has a lot to do with the desire, willingness, ability. It also signifies a price and a period of a time in which the demand is to be fulfilled. Demand has to quantify. Like, for example, specific goods have specific shelf life. It often happens at the time of FMCG products. Companies need to be very, very careful on their marketing strategies. Let's say the marketing strategy or the communication is not being done rightly in the market and a product has a shelf life. Company will end up losing a lot. So company continuously need to nurture, continuously keep a need to have a constant tap on the elasticity of supply and being able to manage it with the right quantity. Then comes the types of demand. Here you can see a lot of times the demands is directly related to consumer. If it is a consumer driven industry or a consumer driven product, well, all the products though are the consumer driven products, but there are type of products which are at times not consumer driven products, like for example the manufacturing of a JCB machine. JCB machine is required in infrastructure development, right? It has been consumed by big mega infrastructure companies all across the world. So, if any single individual's choice will not create a difference in the demand and supply, it has to have a very, very big economic shift to quantify to that very change in the need of that very product. So, whenever we are talking about assessing the consumer, his needs, that is where we are trying to assess his demands. It could be income demand, it could be cross demand, it could be joint demand. Now, let's understand the determinants of demand. Determinants of demand could be a lot like for the first is economic demand. Demand is depends a lot on different factors in which people care a lot on the items cost, because maybe there's a huge fluctuation in the per capita income which is going on in the economy, or maybe the GDP growth rate is not doing so well and people are being very apprehensive about the any penny being spent, which actually hamper a lot or which actually affect a lot on their purchasing decisions. That is known as economic demand. The determinants of those demand could be the price of product, the income of consumer, the price of a related product, then complementary products which are there in the market, then substitute products which are there in the market, the taste and preferences, the advertising, which is the communication of the product, the consumer's expectation of future income and price, growth of economy, seasonal conditions, populations, etc. Price, which is a very, very important determinant of a demand, it is likely to be the most fundamental determinant to be talk about, because every product needs to qualify in the mind of a consumer, needs to, and for that entrepreneur needs to be very, very clear about what customer want, what is the law of demand, what is the quantity demanded, what is the size of the item, or which is the size of the packaging which will be able to qualify that very demand. Then comes income as the second important determinant of a demand. Income income could be one time income, income could be continuous in nature. Lot of times we get to see that there is a huge shift in demand of a product, maybe through a certain change which has come maybe in stock market or maybe in real estate, where companies where the people has quantified a lot on their per capita income, which further helped generating entrepreneurs revenues, but it would be momentary always. Every company needs to assess the continuous income, which is the very, very important determinant in identifying the right demand of a product. Then comes understanding or categorizing your product into normal goods or inferior goods. It helps you understanding what is the best quality you have in hand, which you can sell at a prime price and you can generate more margins out of it. And whenever the income decreases, you have a sub product which probably will have, uh, like more opportunity to get placed into, because you will not be able to command the same price, same profits out of it, but definitely you'll be able to make good money out of it. Then comes the normal goods and inferior goods. An increase in income leads to increase in demand. Decrease in income leads to decrease in demand. This is in the case of a normal good. In the inferior goods, If there is an increase in income, it leads to decrease in demand. Reason: whenever there is an increase in income, people would look forward to go forward for the best quality product which is available in the market. So if you have a product which is inferior in nature, trust me, it is not going to sell. But whenever there is a decrease in income, it is very very likely to see an increase in demand, because the product is being placed at a low price and people are being able to consume it. So prices of related goods are also as a very important determinant of demand. A very very common example to the related goods could be the storage devices. Like, I don't know how many of you will recall the time of a floppy drive, and then you had these external hard disks, you had the CD-ROMs, you had this pen drives, and now it's SD cards, right? The product always had a substitute to it. So, for example, Canon cameras faced the huge setback when Samsung came up with the camera in the phone. So camera came as the parallel demand or parallel substitute to the available product. When in the same price people had mobile as well as camera, which was very handy than Canon's existing cameras, company incurred huge losses. So you got to be very, very careful with the substitution of the product which is available in the market, because the substitutes, if they complement well, they will land up killing the market in a huge way, because will be able to quantify on the demand which is already there being created by you or by your competition. Then comes the unrelated goods. Often it has been felt, though substitutes are very important to be like to keep in mind whenever you're assessing the market demand, and unrelated goods do not create any difference. No, that's not the right thing. Like, for example, a substitute of a petrol would be a gasoline, right? You can never underestimate the potential of electronic vehicles. So it may be unrelated good, but the category is same. That is the four-wheeler category, right? So whenever the category is same, even if the product is unrelated, don't underestimate it. Now let's understand taste as a very important determinant. Since we are in the hospitality sector, and since we are studying the hospitality demand and assessing the real time potential which can create huge difference in the particular demand in the product and services, so taste is a very important variant. Here customer service can be, you know like like customer service may not be a very very important determinant, but the taste would certainly be, because hospitality industry has a lot to do with the expectations. Whenever any person come to the restaurant, they have particular expectation of the taste, flavor, ambience. They have certain prejudices in their mind, and they have certain quantifiable aspects to look forward for. They have their law of demand in their mind, they have their substitution effect, they have their certain income what they're looking forward to spend in. Any change in anything, like if the income changes, or if the demand changes, or if the taste, the taste which they are looking forward to get out of that very product, that changes, it will have a relative change in the subsequent demand. The number of buyers, again, a very important determinant. Number of buyers talks a lot about the continuous flow of business in the market. Here, income in effect, I guess we also need to understand. So, income effect to demand analysis that can be measured in terms of services and goods that someone can purchase, right? So, if a price of a good and service decreases and nominal income remains constant, the real income increases. In this way, when one can buy goods at a cheapest price, the one's income goes further and thus increase in real terms. So if a person can have access to a good quality cheaper substitute, it lands up giving a huge push in the market because a consumer or a buyer will buy more. With this note, I guess we have been able to cater to a lot of questions which is there in assessing the right demand of any product. We were able to talk a bit about economics, the purchasing power, customers' willingness, the ability to purchase, the demand of a commodity, and the various triggers which changes the demand. We tried to talk about direct demand, indirect demand, joint demand, composite demand, or the competitive demand. We even tried to touch on the factors which talks about the price of a product, income, price of a substitute product, expectations about future prices of a product, the advertisement or endorsements or communication of a product which leads to the change in the demand of a product, the taxation policies, which are again very, very important for any entrepreneur to assess before getting into any business decision. So, the demand analysis formula would be determining the demand, determining the individual demand and market demand, and then creating a strategy to be able to cater to it. With this note, that's it for today. Thank you so much.